Okay, we're live now. Yes. I want to call to order this meeting to the Huntingburg Common Council. Pledge allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Father God, thank you for commitment of these elected officials that are up here today and the other staff that are here to represent the city. We ask now, we go in this meeting today that you may be with us to guide us and make sure that the decisions are for the best of the community. For these things, we ask your son's name. Amen.
Amen.
All had a chance to look at the minutes. Do I hear any comments or any motion to accept?
Motion to approve the minutes from October 8th meeting.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
We had a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those that oppose, nay. Motion carries. Approval of claims. If you'll all have had time to review those, if there are no questions or issues, do I hear a motion to accept the claims? For approval of the claims?
Motion to accept.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I really have nothing new today. I just want to introduce. We do have a new employee sitting in the audit station who's here just observing the process. Kenley, do you want to just greet anybody or say anything or no?
I'm excited.
Okay, I think I've kind of introduced her to the rest of you. She was been around the last week or so and meeting with the merchants, but she'll be taking over a lot of the communication here. Been very happy. She's got some stuff done in one day. I've been waiting a month for from, and I appreciate that. Thank you for being here to observe tonight.
So you'll be in charge of the website?
Yes,
Starting on it, yep.
Okay.
That's number one question.
her background, you were a bank, you were in an audit position with the bank, but also did other marketing on the side, have 2 degrees in both accounting and marketing. Just a different thought pattern. Accountants and marketing people are always of the same mind, but she is, so we appreciate that. And I mean, she's creative and detailed. So that was a great thing. Thank you. We have Transit Director April Blessinger. We got to give us update on the
Yes.
where we're at with the van, the transit van.
So we put the van up for bid, sealed bid, and we had one offer, Tom and I, and was it Amy? We opened the bids at 10 o'clock on September 24th, and we had one bid for $400. So, we decided that wasn't enough.
Okay.
We didn't feel like that was enough. We could get more out of it than that.
Mhm.
So, I sent a notice of bid rejection. I think I shared that with Bill and he
Yes.
approved it. And I gave that to the person that, bid on it.
Okay.
So then, since then, trying to move forward, I have to have your approval and it hasn't worked out for me to be here at a meeting with you guys until now. So, I've had 3 different people tell me that they were interested in it. One said they were gonna come and look at it, never showed up, and then I had 2 others that were interested. One made an offer, and then the other one counter offered, and I called Tom and asked him how I was supposed to handle that, because I'm friends with these people, and I'm like, how do I go about this? Do I have them turn in an offer, like, without telling me what they're gonna offer? Cause it feels like they were just going back and forth, you know? He suggested that we do another sealed bid. And, both of those people that are interested said that they would put in bids for it again, so.
Almost sounds like we need an auction at all.
Well,
We are-
you know, I talked to, Souders, the one that's on the Board of Public Works. I actually called Jason and asked Jason because Tom had told me about how Jason had auctioned off some of his equipment that way. And he said that he could take it to an auction, but the thing is, it doesn't run. You
Mhm.
know, and it has leaks and I'm not allowed to spend any more money on it to get it back on the road with our transit money. It's not allowed. Once they, tell me you can dispose of it, we're not allowed to spend any money on it unless the city would want to approve fixing it good enough so that we could take it to an auction and sell it. And then I guess pay the city back after it was sold. But you don't know how much money you're gonna get that way. either,
Right,
but
right.
It's still
Okay.
sitting here.
Gotcha.
There are options of online auctions too, so.
Also,
Yeah.
yeah. In the case of real estate and a lot of other things, when you have a competitive situation and you don't have a clear resolution and you don't wanna, you just want, they ask for best and final.
I
And
kind
then-
of said, I kind of thought I would do that, but then I asked Tom for help and he said, let me be the one that they answer to, because I felt like I was gonna make somebody mad either way.
Yeah.
That would, you ask for best and final and have a date. Have a date that you have 3 days to get the bid to Tom or
Give
whatever,
me
and
the
that's your
highest offer that you'll give me is
Well,
kind of.
best and
I
final.
believe there's a step, there's probably a statutory way.
Yeah,
Legal
there
way.
is. It depends on the value of the asset. If it's a single item and it's worth $1,000 or less, you can just try to sell it on the open market. But if the estimated value is more than $1,000, then you've got to
Do we have-
publish a notice to receive sealed bids. Or you could publish notice and have an auction.
Do we have a value of it, or, I mean, you turn down 400 or?
Someone had said 1,200, but was that? Mayor, did somebody look it up?
Yeah,
I
somebody
remember-
had looked it up and
Yeah.
I didn't, so I'm not gonna verify that 1,200 was an accurate
Right,
number,
okay.
but.
So you're right there. It's hard to tell.
It is hard to tell because it needs work done on it too, if it's 1,200.
If it's a sealed bid, it's worth what we get as the highest bid for the sealed bid.
I would think
Then we know
that,
what it's worth.
and the sealed bid is typically your best and final. I think
Yeah.
when most people submit a sealed bid, it would be your best and.
Yeah, do we have a,
And we still have the option to reject it like she did this last.
You could always.
assume you can reject all bids, right?
We have the right to.
But I think perhaps there's more interest in it now. Maybe the word got out a little bit more
Right.
than prior to the previous bid opening. So they may have some more interest. You may end up spending more on legal notices advertising this than you get for,
I know, that's the other part.
at some point, you gotta just draw a line and say, we'll take it.
I mean, I could have the two people who are interested. Put like an offer in an envelope. Keep it private.
Deliver to
offer
Tom.
Envelope and the highest one, give it to Tom and say, the highest one gets it, but. That is your decision.
Well, it
Because-
does, if it's over $1,000, then we have to advertise it for sealed bids. It's
Okay,
just that,
okay,
we just
then, yes,
republish that
It
ad,
is over $1,000. so-
republish the ad and put a date for them to submit their best offer and that's it.
Thank you.
Since we can't spend any more money on it, we're not even sure we can pay for the towing, so.
Well, that's what, I know, who determined the 1,200, who determined the 1,200?
I did talk to our project manager when I was at our conference and I asked him, and I didn't know how you guys feel about this, but the Southridge Automotive Department, I asked him if, I said, I haven't had much luck selling it and had any interest. I said, would we be able to donate it to someone like that? And he said, you guys can do whatever you want, but your governing body has to agree on that and vote. He said, if they want to donate it to the school, he said, go for it, donate
Yeah,
it to the school.
you can transfer surplus unneeded assets to a not-for-profit or to an educational institution or other governmental institution
Tax supported.
for for any consideration or no consideration whatsoever without bidding. You can do that. But
Would they be interested in it?
I let Chris Satterfield know whenever we were selling it. And he did not put a bid in on it or anything. I sent him all the information
I
on
would be
it.
surprised if he has any funds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that he does. And
I
that's a
think-
great program. I don't know.
Well,
if you guys
we
ever
know
did.
it's a potential liability at the state
know
it's in
that.
and I don't know if we want to saddle the school with that. so.
Okay.
If there's an interest, they probably would have contacted us by now.
My theory was if they fixed it, got it back on the road, they could sell it and make a profit for their program because they go on trips every year and they're constantly fundraising. So, you know, I thought,
What do we want to take it and see where our sealed bids would be? And if it's something that we don't like, we can consider that again.
What's the cost on the edge?
That's probably the question.
it's $45.
35,
I'd say running the ad,
Yeah.
sealed bids by such and such date.
Be done with it.
Right.
Need a motion on this or just an agreement?
I'd go ahead and put it in the record that you rejected the $400 bid, the only bid received, rejected that and authorized re-advertising for sealed bids.
I make that motion.
Sounds
I'll
good.
second.
All right.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your.
Got your marching orders.
We've got
Or your
introduced
bidding orders or whatever you want.
Superintendent, John Rudipolar. Make sure you're the next person.
Council?
Yeah.
So you have your report and you have approval of a bid too? Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Oh,
The gas department, we did add another new service, 6 on file. And we did replace a service that we found when we were changing out meters. Couldn't find the valve to the meter, dug down, found the valve. Replaced the valve, we dug down further, we found a threaded coupling, which is not allowed. So we just ended up replacing the whole service. So we got that done. And like I say, most of the month they spent changing out the meters. We did end up with 117. Then we did replace OFS's plant 18 meter due to the age. I did have a picture. The amount of welding that takes place, precise. Way it's got to be put together where it's level and it matches incoming versus the outgoing. That was all the work that was involved in them.
Did you do that all in there?
Ryan do all that?
Did all that well.
cool. That's awesome.
That's a lot of precision welding and you gotta make sure everything's level when you meet, put everything together. And with no leaks.
Yeah.
Wish we could put it on the screen so everybody can see it. But
I watched it. Well, the job. Did an excellent job on it. I got contacted by Grubner and Associates. About our census gas meters. The price is going up by $78 a meter.
oh my
I
God.
had 150 in stock. At the old price, I went ahead and ordered them. But you can see what the savings is gonna be, so I really need approval, even though I've already got them. This is kind of an emergency purchase. That was our savings, so I need approval to the amount of 55,582.50. From the council.
All right.
we have motion to approve the purchase.
I'll make a motion to accept the purchase from Grosvenor.
I'll second
Okay, first and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Any questions on the gas?
But they're proprietary for those meters.
$78 out there. Nothing we can do about it. The electric side, we did replace, or put 3 new services in. 3 at Hunter's Crossing, 2 at some different locations, couple of garages we hooked up. We did cut down 10 trees this month. We went to the homeowners. They were encroaching on our electric lines. Told them what we were gonna do. Gave them an option. We'll cut it down for nothing. So that would be responsible for the stumps, or we can trim it out. We kind of showed them how we were gonna trim them out. So I said, go ahead and take them down, so. They're in the backyards along the easements. So, no hesitate, we took them down. All that's left is the stumps. And we did put brackets up on, this section of 4th Street, banner brackets. Had several of them made, so on all the poles, future banners.
Okay.
I think it looks pretty good. Color matched.
You know, being able to produce those locally saved us about $15,000 in that area. Those will be utilized. We're getting more veterans were supposed to be up July 4th through Veterans Day, the banners. However, some came in late, so some of those will be down, put in this area, while the holiday banners will be going up on Fourth Street, so. But there is a calendar schedule for those for the next year, so we'll be switching banners around a little bit more.
You have more brackets on hand in case there's some more holes. We'd like to add banners too.
Great.
That's speaking, Christmas decorations will be going up next week on the poles and the lights on Fourth Street. Coming quick.
Yes, it is.
Crew started working down at City Park for the pickleball courts. We had an underground electric line that was gonna be in the way. So we had to move the pole, we redid the underground electric. And like one thing led to another. Picture with the pole. The tall pole's probably 70, 80 years old, completely rotten.
Oh, man.
That feeds the League Stadium lights from that pole. I think the only thing opens up is conduit, the bar on the top. And showed the mayor, we just stuck something through the whole pole at the bottom. So I decided to go ahead and set a new pole there. Which eventually led, we're gonna, in the process of converting the League Stadium lights. The next picture. That's what it looked like now with the transformer on it. High voltage lines attached to the structure. It's not really the safest. No. So we're going to all convert that all the underground, we'll put pad mount transformer of the structures.
Great.
So in the process of doing that. And that's gonna take maybe another week. We should have it completed. It's going pretty good.
How big of expense is the ground pad transformer? So we had to buy all them for them, each
We
pole,
have
right?
Stock.
Oh, okay.
We did bore under the League Stadium, the actual field. We did that yesterday, pulled conduit,
Okay.
so. I guess something to go bad in electric, we didn't have to dig up a ball field. But we did get it all bored in.
You gotta put a transformer by each tower?
No, put one transformer for all 4 stadium structures on the outfield.
Yeah,
Okay.
And then we're gonna run secondaries to each light structure.
he's like, okay. That's not a thought.
Yeah, and we got one transformer for the 2 first base side structures and then one transformer for the third base structures.
Thanks.
So it's, I think another week, we'll have it all done, hopefully with the weather being nice.
And draw some power.
We did have transformers in stock, so
That's good.
it's a good thing. Then I got approval for a reel of underground primary wire. For 11,375 through Brownstown. Which is the only vendor that sell that kind of wire. That's why I only have one quote. So I'd like to get approval. For that.
I hear a motion to approve the Brownstown Electric Supply quote 11,375.
Still moved.
Got first.
Second.
And a second, but. That's a person. Bolte, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Yeah.
Should have another. Quote from Core in Maine. Everybody have,
Should have Core May 99, 819 30.
that's what, not what I'm asking for tonight.
See that
What
one?
I'm asking for is price per meter. Say it's
Say on the bottom.
No, okay.
No. It's the next step down. Go back to the board package, the next attachment.
So what you're wanting is a motion to accept those pricing points
Yeah,
for
the
each of the items.
vendor, met with the vendor. These are 3-phase meters from Census. because Core Main is a distributor for census meters. I got a quote on the meter itself, that's each meter. With census, I don't know if I'm gonna get 10 meters, 20 meters at one time. So if I get 20 meters of one kind, it'd be over the $10,000 mark. Kind of sketchy on, if you order 100 meters, you may get 10. Order 10, you all of a sudden you may get 20.
We ran through this before, I believe. didn't we?
Unpredictable, right? now.
Yes.
Kind of like ordering a truck, ain't it?
That's just the price for each meter, so.
Holy cow.
Wow, do we need to approve this total purchase price or not to exceed, or what we need to do here?
They wanted a total amount of meters, three-phase meters I'm gonna need from a system,
Yeah,
but I'm not gonna get them all at one time.
Yeah.
It's just for the price per meter that I need to get approved. I mean, may only get 10 meters.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. He's
I think this is a motion.
the price per meter is not that hateful, it's $600 depending on which one you get, right?
There's three different
There's 3 different versions of it here.
versions. We're gonna need all three.
135 of the cheaper ones.
It's the only supplier. I would
I don't-
recommend you consider approving,
I'd
Approving this.
approve the price point for these meters, I'll make a motion to approve
Yeah.
that, I mean. what's
up
the
to
odds?
100,000. I mean, is that, you anticipate, perhaps getting all of those?
I doubt it.
Not to
No.
exceed 100,000 on the meter purchase?
Will they hold the price? You
Yeah.
want?
They're gonna hold the price. I just wanna get it approved per meter. So I may get 20 meters, they may show up. I have 20 meters, so then I'd be over the 10,000 mark,
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean?
I'd make a motion to accept the
Price.
cost per unit price on
Cost per
this and not to exceed the total here of 100,000.
And this may be next year.
Yeah. I'll second that motion.
They have first and second to accept the price per unit, not to exceed 100,000 total on the purchase. We have, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you.
I can't get an answer on when I'm gonna get them, how many I'm gonna get. I've talked to 3 or 4 salesmen, and I can't get an answer. So I may have 50 short one day.
Seems like it'd be tough to be a salesman when you don't know what you're getting, when you can deliver and what the price will be and.
The only thing I get out of them is per meter, what the price is gonna be. Couldn't get a
Glenn sells
quantity or
lumber
delivery.
too. That's how he sells lumber.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Good job.
Any other questions on the electric?
Mm-mm.
No,
Thank you.
very good.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you,
good.
John. Next we have Water Superintendent Jerry Austin.
Who's that truck?
Good evening.
Hello.
Yeah, like next year. this time or
We'll
something.
jump into distribution. We had a sinkhole that presented itself out at the water plant, along the highway. We dug it up and ended up being a drainage tile, that I can only assume was put in there by the state when they raised the road. Unfortunately, it's not their problem, it's ours, so we cut the back section of pipe out and repaired that. The next item here, we had a valve at 22nd Street in Maine. We just turned this main back on from 22nd Street to Phoenix Drive. Runs along the west side of the highway there from utility supply down to the hotel there. Roughly a little over 5 years ago, that bank slid and it blew the water main out. I talked about last council meeting, we went through all the hoops and bounds with the Army Corps of Engineer with the protected waterway and NDOT with right of ways, and we bored that new water main in and we chlorinated it like we normally do when we install new main. Unfortunately, the chlorination that we did with it and the amount of flushing that we did on that main, we couldn't get that main to clear up in order to pass bacteria tests. So when we did turn this valve on, we found out that it had failed. The bolts in it were zinc bolts when it was installed. So we had to dig that valve up and replace all the bolts and O-rings with stainless steel. With that, we had to dig in the line item 3 here, We had to dig down on each intersection of that main and install 1-inch taps. To super chlorinate that main. When we super chlorinate, we just have to figure out how much water that, length of main holds. We mix our chlorine with water and then we pump that into the main to super chlorinate it at 100 parts per million. We let that set for 48 hours and then we flush that out. Once we have all that super chlorinated water flushed out, we're able to take bacteria samples. The samples did pass this week, so that main is back in service and tied back into blue. We had a new service install on William Street for the Habitat for Humanity house that's being built there. We got that installed for them. We had to work with Melling Construction with a water main that was involved with their wastewater sewer main project there. They actually had a very, very large portion of our water main exposed in an intersection. We had to go in there and turn down the main. We had to do some blocking and kind of some reinforcing to make sure all of our fittings and pipe are held together while that was exposed. We got all that taken care of and put back in place. We did have 2 fire hydrants that we found to be bad during our fall flushing at 6th and Shelby and Jackson and 5th Street. We replaced both those fire hydrants this month. We also, during fall break, we flushed the fire hydrants at Southridge. They aren't city-owned fire hydrants, but we have a contract with them that we flush them, we flow test them. That way our fire department knows what they can pull off of them. We know they're in good operating procedure. If there's any issues found with them, we usually do the repairs, but Southridge pays for it. They pay for all the material and labor to have that stuff repaired. So didn't find any issues out there. With hydrant flushing, we are done with flushing in town and at Southridge. We are this Saturday, we will come in and flush the Highway 64 from Stallline Drive to the water plant. We have 2 mains that run down both sides of that road. We'll flush those on Saturday, as well as 400 West out past Far Best to Phoenix Drive. We can't flush those during the week because it stirs up dirt and we can't send dirty water to Far Best. So we have to come in on Saturdays while the guy come in about midnight Saturday morning and start flushing the mains on down the highways, and then we'll finish up probably around noon on Saturday with County Road 400 after all that's taken care of. We've got a dump site that we all dump our hydro excavators at, that First Street lot. We've been using it the most with our lead and copper. So every once in a while it gets full, we've got to clean that up. So we took the backhoe down there and dump trucks and got all that loaded out and hauled it to Ralph Wagner's. We dumped down there just for the sole purpose that Ralph Wagner's area is mud. So when it rains, it's mud and we end up getting hung up and everything else. So, and then we did go back after those bacteria samples passed on that main there at Utility Supply and remove those taps and service lines so they're not there to be potentially caught in future excavations. Other than that, that's all for distribution. Our filter plant, I talked last month a little bit about installing some valves for our drying beds to be able to divert water to wastewater and the ditch, depending on if we have solids in our drying beds or not. We do have there wasn't a meter installed when all that infrastructure was done in 2019.
Okay.
So we did have to dig in some conduit and we'll be installing a meter tomorrow with a company, Grip Industries. They deal with Grip with effluent meters. That's who our wastewater department uses for things like this. So we will install that meter. That way, whenever we are diverting water to wastewater, they can bill us for that usage. They've got to treat the water, so somebody has to pay for it. Other than that, we did come in on 10/6, it was a Saturday, and repair a few chlorine leaks that we had in the filter plant. With those, we can't repair those during the week. The glue has to take 24 hours to set, so we normally, anytime that stuff happens, we have to get 3 or 4 guys to come in on a weekend for a couple hours to repair those leaks. So very fortunate. We've got our whole department's willing to give up their weekends for the city.
We appreciate that.
Other than that, we had a couple sump pumps in our pipe galley. One pump went bad, and when we went down there to look at it, we noticed it was plumbed for two pumps. They had some backflow preventers on them that one of them had failed and looked like that's potentially why the other pump was removed. We went ahead and replumbed that with new backflows, new valves, and we did install two sump pumps for that area. There's a lot of electronics down there, a lot of automated valves. If that would flood, it would cost us thousands of dollars to repair all that stuff. So, other than that, our metering system, we're continuing to notify residents about potential water leaks. And we have started to receive some of our large diameter meters to round out our metering system. We've got about 30 total that we need. We've got 3 this month, so kind of like John said, with those electric meters, we ordered all of them. We'll see them when we see them. And then with that, we're still gonna, we're gonna get back, since flushing's over, we'll get back into our lead and copper survey. I did have to submit our survey October 16th of this month to the state. Went great. They didn't have any issues submitting that. We do currently, just for your knowledge, we have 2,260 non-lead, so they're either copper or poly, now that we started putting poly service lines in. We do have 399 still unknown, and we have 25 confirmed lead. So we did have more than that when we started, and when we were potholing services that are no longer in service, instead of including those in our survey and adding to this when they go nowhere, we just dug those off the main and removed the service. So when we started, we had over 3,000 service lines that we were gonna have to do. And by removing quite a few of those service lines, we're down to almost just a hair under 2,700. So by removing those service lines, we don't have to report those or anything else. So we'll continue to work towards taking care of the unknowns. And then once our survey is completed, we'll start removing the lead service lines and replacing them with the poly service lines. And we will be sending out a letter this month to the customers that do have unknown or lead service lines. It's a letter that is wrote by IDEM, kind of just telling the dangers of the potential of lead in your water, as well as galvanized downstream from lead. It's something that has to be done, so we'll send that out to the residents. The residents that do not have unknown or lead will not get a letter. So if you guys get asked what that's about, that's what that's for. We'll include a letter from the city as well, kind of explaining it, just in case people don't understand the legal jargon of it. We'll try to help out on that side of it and be willing to answer any questions we can. Other than that, that's all I have.
Very well.
Thank
So
you.
you got 25, you have 25 identified as lead already,
Yes.
but we don't go back and address those until after we're done with the other
Well,
399 or?
Whenever we started the inventory, they didn't want any unknowns. They either had to be lead or non-lead. So whenever they sent that out, we were to do our full inventory and then come back and remove those service lines. One thing with the lead service line is, the water and the minerals in the water end up coating the lead. We can take a water sample in your house and it will test for no lead. We can dig the service line up and it will be lead. So the health risk is there, of course, because it is lead. We all know the issues with that, but with that being said, a lot of the lead service lines have been in the ground since the 1800s or before. Lead was outlawed in 1986. So 1987 and newer homes shouldn't have an issue at all with that. It was against the law to put in the ground to use in houses, whether it was lead solder, fittings, or anything. So we will work towards removing those service lines as well.
That's probably a good identifier. I wanted, because I'm aware of that. The inside of the lines do coat themselves with
And they
everything.
do.
And that's been a known thing forever. And so once you disturb them, then you got a problem.
Right,
But
once you disturb them, then it becomes an issue. It breaks that coating but it's like I said, lead is very serious. We know it has very, very extreme health risks, but with that coating on there, like I said, we take samples, 20 samples every other year throughout the system and send them to IDEM. And we found that some of those sample sites, they give us 20 random addresses. We drop a water bottle off with them, it's 100 milliliters with instructions. They want a first draw where the water sets stagnant for 6 hours, so we give it to the homeowner to let them take the draw first thing in the morning. So we know the water's set for 6 hours. And we've had samples come back that have came back negative for lead. We went out with this, we've excavated lines and we found that they do have lead service lines. It's just with that coating in there, the minerals and everything, it's, the lead is not leaching into the water. So there is, like I said, there is health risks with it, but also on the same side of it, it's, I don't wanna say it's not as bad as what they are gonna proceed to be in the letter, but.
Well, that's why I think the discussion needs to be had because of a letter.
Right, right, and we'll include that in the letter that we send out on the
Right.
city side of that to explain that, but.
Do we have a simple test for lead or do we have to send ours off?
We, as far as, we're excavating, we're putting our eyes on it, I mean, it's.
No, I mean, as far as if I bring you a sample of water out of my faucet.
But so they do, City Huntingburg does not have a licensed lab. So like with our bacteria samples and stuff, we have to take those to Jasper. So if there would be somebody within the city that is concerned, there are, IDIM's website, they have a list of laboratories as well. And, don't quote me on it, but usually those tests are around the $20 range. To be able to get a sample bottle, they send to you, you take the sample and send it back to them, and they send you the results.
Okay.
So, yeah. So.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, thank you.
Jerry, when did you say you're flushing 64?
That'll be Saturday. Saturday morning, we'll start on that. Well, like I said, we'll start the plant, start flushing the mains on 64 back to the plant. The community won't see that. We flush that to the ditch in the spillway. We have a blow off pipe there. So that won't be seen to the human eye. But it takes a while to flush those pipes back. They're large diameter, they're 16-inch in diameter. So with reverse flushing those, it breaks up a lot of the minerals that are hung onto the pipe. So, we usually flush those from about midnight to around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. And then that's when the rest of the crew will come in and then we'll start flushing hydrants down 64 and then down 400. So, and like I said, we're usually there till about 9 AM doing that. So if people sees water flying, that's what we're doing.
All right, thank you.
Very well.
Thank you.
Good job, thank you.
And before we get to the next section, something we were made aware of last Thursday, kind of, I just want everybody to know because it will be a little bit of a traffic pattern change for a couple of weeks. The bridge at, First Street and Cherry will be shut down for replacement. That is a county job, not a city. That's a county-owned bridge. They're coming in on the 28th. The county will be putting up their signs actually this week, warning people that it's coming. You'll have access to the park and to Cherry Street down First Avenue, as well as you can turn left at Cherry off of First Avenue to get to the Lim Yard and the park entrance. So there will be one lane open. They'll have to share lanes at that intersection. So if you go down, drop off limbs and come back, you may have to share lanes at that intersection, but it will be marked and they'll put up warning signs this week that it's occurring next week.
Wow.
And there'll be some utility. We have a gas line running under there and some other stuff, but so the utility departments will be involved in taking care of those. That's all I had there. We'll be sending out press releases and warning people to here this week, so. Once we get the information. All right, we have Clerk Treasurer Thomas Stipple. Yeah, you have one or two short items here, it looks like.
Sure. That must have been Bill Snyder.
Oh.
He had the shorter list.
You didn't have anything today, so I think we're okay with moving to Mr. Stipple here.
This is the date and time that was scheduled for the adoption of the city budget. There have been no changes. It was introduced on the October the 8th, and so it's ready to adopt. Consider for adoption. That would be 2024-19.
So it's already been introduced, it's just a motion to, final passage or adoption.
Yeah, we passed, we did a first passing last meeting, right?
Yes, it was introduced.
Yes. All right. I'll make a motion to introduce 2024-19.
Adopt.
Adopt, I'm sorry.
We have a motion to adopt, number 2024-19. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries to adopt 2024-19 city's 2025 budget.
Ware,
Aye.
McFerrin,
Aye.
Kissling,
Aye.
Bounds, Bolte,
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 absent. And I have this one, you have to sign and put your vote in here as a, nay, or abstain. Second item that I have is just, we also introduced ordinance number 2024-20, which was an additional appropriation for the 2024 budget year for the ARPA Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund. That would be $472,145 that's left in that account, which is to be is planned to be used for the senior center. Again, that one will just need to be, again, it was introduced, so considered for adoption.
So we have a motion considered for adoption ordinance number 2024-20.
I'll make that motion.
We have a second.
I'll second.
We got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you.
Dick Ware,
Aye.
McFerrin,
Aye.
Kissling,
Right.
Bounds, Bolte,
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 absent. Now that the actually, that was to be a public hearing for the appropriation. So I guess you need to ask.
You need to go back, I guess, yeah.
Yes.
We're having a public hearing then.
Open a public hearing, citizen comment.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and open a public hearing on the ARP Coronavirus Fund additional appropriation. Those are funds that have to be obligated by the end of this year, spent at the end of 2025. That appropriation was designated earlier in the year, I think, in a budget and considered now for to go towards the construction rehabilitation of the senior center on the north side versus going, and that's so any public comment, we're going to ask for that prior to the acceptance of the consideration for adoption. Seniors, thank you.
Close that hearing.
Now now call this hearing closed. No other considerations will be taken at now, so thank you. Next thing, you want to cover, of course,
Yeah, now, the salary ordinances, like the first one there is the employees. What you have in front of you is the current, and then the options that this has on it. Or 3, 4, and 5%. But I can make them anything that you want.
What they would be approving is the increase in the range.
It would be at the increase in the high point of the range, right?
Okay. So you're not blanketing a 5% or 3% or 4%. You're just looking at the high end of the range of what you're approving.
I think we had in the budget. Except for the street department, we had 5%, but I know we weren't gonna approve that much.
No.
The street department, I think, had 3 in their budget, but. County went 2, did they not?
County did go too.
They did too, but they also did something with their insurance.
They're paying $4,000 a person. And they're absorbing that. So
They're
then
absorbing any increases, so they
Decided to go 2% with them.
so the employees won't see the impact of that
Correct.
increase from the insurance. So they're actually,
Okay.
so they're actually getting,
10%.
technically, they're getting more, they're getting more.
Ten
for their-
percent is actually what they're getting.
Huh?
Depending on what, like, based on $50,000 a year, they'd be getting a 10% increase. What, did we have insurance raises like that we
We did
increases?
not change the insurance at all.
Was it increased for the cost increased at all with the city?
Or self-
No.
It's been multiple years with no increase.
Our policy. The cost to the employees has not changed. For the upcoming year.
Right.
Correct.
Nor the cost to us.
Right,
And
it's a
we-
flat
we-
deal.
We budget a certain amount and pay into a reserve fund, and the reserve fund is very healthy, so it felt that we didn't need to pass anything else.
Are you looking for a proposal?
I was leaning more towards a 2, maybe 2.5 at the most, but that's my opinion.
I think though that the rate of inflation is 2.5%. So anything less than 2.5, they're making less this year than they did last. So I would say at least 2.5 would be my vote. If not,
But that isn't a raise.
well, that's what I'm saying, that I think anything less than 2.5 would not, I would say
Right.
at least 2.5%.
Well, that'd be the minimum, of course.
Based on my personal experience of what I deal with. My day-to-day world. I would propose 4%. To allow a little bit of. Positive on this, because I do think that the value of the dollar is not as much right now. We've done some pretty nice raises in the past, but. I think we should. Manage that a little bit in these uncertain years. It's not gonna,
Can you?
and
wait?
it's not nothing. What we're talking about here, some of these 4% is a good raise. Depending on where you're at.
Yeah, just understand that a 4% doesn't mean a 4% raise.
Well,
Across the
So-
board, right?
it moves the needle to the high side, so
Yeah.
on the high side, on the top of the scale, I assume, the range, right?
Right.
Is it only moving the high number,
High
right?
number.
Okay.
Can you go what we did in the past? Do you remember what we did last year, and the year before?
We've done
We just
7.
happen to have that.
I figured you would.
I know what we did last year, I heard about it,
Last year we did 5,
the year before,
7.5,
that's the one I heard about.
Yeah.
but then before that it was 1.5.
Yeah.
1, 2.5. 2, 1.
So you're saying that we're approving the high end and it's at the discretion of someone as to what
The supervisor.
the supervisor
And the mayor.
and the mayor as to what the person actually receives, that they can receive up to 4%.
Well, they can receive up to whatever the high rate, if they're not to the high rate yet, they could actually receive more than 5, more
They
than.
could be moved in class or moved in,
12 year raise.
depending on what their abilities are, their tenure, their licensing,
You
their.
could approve 2%, but somebody could get a 5% raise.
Yeah.
So that's still possible. if they're at the very low end of that range
Right.
or
Oh,
below the
within their
midpoint.
range. Okay, okay, I see what you're
Cause
saying.
you're taking that last number in that range and that's what you're saying, we want to increase it by 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever that number is.
Right.
It still gives an option, if need be, from a competitive standpoint to retain somebody. It also gives us the option to go less. You know, to lessen a raise. So,
I have considered that too. I talked to Glenn earlier about 2.5, and then I understand Pam's side of it too. If we go low like that, it's like they're not achieving much compared to what the rates are. And I understand Steve's position on 4. I was considering between 3 and 3.5 possibly. If you guys have an issue with 4s, and let's consider 3.5. But however you guys feel, I could understand the high end, and I agree with that too, but I don't know how many people are always out at the high end all the time.
and we have some, just so you know, there are some, especially in some of our utilities and stuff, there are some people, because of their certifications, don't have the opportunity to even reach that high end anyway.
Right.
You know, from a raise standpoint, because they're a journeyman in electric department. It's, you know, there's certifications are really what drives. And a lot of departments where they're going, where their salary's going.
I will say that the city is sort of a different animal because we have if you just look down through the list of these, all of these, you got lab techs, you got plant operators, you got wastewater license 1, 2, 3, you know, you've got all of these different levels in every one of these departments. And all of that is tenure and service and training. And when you lose that and they march over to another town and they get picked up by them, that's a huge loss for the city.
Oh, absolutely.
So
If
I
we had-
think we should continue to make our pay attractive and things like that. Because we're limited on a lot of other things that we can do. We just are. You know,
Well,
I mean,
because of what you said, that's why I brought up while past, if a longevity pay increase scale be set up for someone who's here for 8 to 10 years, might stay another longer because of just a little bit more. It ain't a whole lot of money. We can adjust those rates. But that was an option too I brought up, but I don't think we touch base much on that anymore. But if we approve the budget tonight for the salaries, that will be unable to do any longevity thing for next year for 2025, correct?
I think that'll have to be brought up.
You could amend the salary one.
Yeah,
We have to find the funding though.
right.
If you have the funding, we can amend the salary ordinance.
Right.
All of those things have to be addressed.
How much is your unit fund? So. Okay,
I can
Anyway.
Spend that. It's not 3 times.
gotcha. All right, so anyway, I guess we're down to, we can discuss that later another time. If we can come up with something like that. You know, because what I was thinking, I didn't know what the overall total was between a 3% and 4% over the whole city. And I was thinking, that's why I was thinking we can do a longevity if we decided to go 3.5, we'd just do 3%, and the extra half that we had money for would come out of that, if that was enough money to do that. I don't have the numbers for that. So.
I don't have that on this
Yeah.
clipboard either.
No, so that's, but do you have anything between the three, what, 3% increase and a 4%?
$29,000.
1% is $29,000? Okay,
Basically, rough,
I've been bringing it forward every year as and raising that.
trying to keep that scale going, so. What do we put in the budget for this? 5?
Well, the street. had
Generally
3.
five, but
The
there's-
street had 3 and the rest of them.
Yeah. There was room in the street for 4.
4. Yeah, I think the street was at 4, I believe.
here was my thinking,
So
$250 per every 5,
I don't-
after 5, 29,000. That's what I'm saying.
I,
I think 4%. I'm okay with 4%.
I'm open to discussion, but that's where, I think that's a nice,
I think.
it
especially
gets you
if
a
it's
little
left
bit,
at the-
it gets a little bit past the cost of living and it allows a little bit of an increase, and
And if most of the departments have budgeted 5%.
then we're covered.
And we will say we've had,
I'll go on and make a motion 4%.
so we got a motion at 4.
I'll second it.
But were you the motion, Pam? Or- Okay.
No.
Doesn't matter.
She
Yeah.
suggested it and then she motioned it, she
So we got Pam and then Glenn
plan.
Kissling as a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? My motion carries at 4.
And that's, okay, that's 4%. And now the salary ordinance itself is going to be 2024-21.
Yep.
So that's introduce, suspend, adopt.
Okay,
So motion
motion
introduced.
introduced.
Second.
Got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now,
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
I'll second.
got a motion to suspend the rules in a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
I move to it.
I'll second to adopt.
we got a first and a second to adopt. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
Where?
carries to.
Aye.
McFerrin,
Aye.
Kissling,
Aye.
Bounds, Multi,
Aye.
4 ayes, 1 absent.
Check.
And the next one will be 2024-22. This is the elected officers salary ordinance.
Is that the same?
So we'd do the same.
I would think so. We'll go with theirs, 'cause otherwise.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying
Well, I like for the mayor and clerk treasurer. We'll do 4% on them, correct? And then we got to
we all elected.
the utility board and the common council, so. We gonna keep the utility boards, oh, that's us, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Board of Public Works.
They're staying the same.
I would make a motion to stay the same as we are currently, we did for 2024. Without getting an increase.
You wanted to give the mayor and
Yes,
the treasurer the increase and council now.
that's correct.
They need a second or further discussion.
You can discuss it, you guys can, that's how I kind of vote on this. We talk about this every year, you know. We
Okay.
sign up to do this
There's
job.
only 3 entities here, the mayor, the clerk treasurer, and the council on salary.
Mhm.
That's the way I'm reading it. So,
And you put your motion was 4% clerk treasurer, mayor, 0 for council.
That's my suggestion. You
I
guys,
mean, was that a motion or? not?
that's my motion. If
Okay,
anybody
We got a motion.
wants to
Or do you
agree with
want to
it
Discuss it.
or discuss
What's
it.
your-
Yeah.
well, then we
That's the
just-
idea.
What's your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, I do think that. For me personally, I think we're paid a decent amount for
We are.
what we've been doing, but I also think too that it's good to stay competitive. What has happened in the past?
We generally try to keep it competitive with everything, so when. you-
Well, there you go, Tom Scott.
When you and I are no longer interested in running, somebody would be interested in running, so it's a current, and we're not forcing someone down the line to make some 15% increase or
Well,
20% increase.
Or
And that's-
even-
That's what I'm always fearful of, setting up someone down the road and they're gonna
Right.
get, they're
well,
gonna have to raise it by some
And if we
amount
raised,
that seems unreasonable, but it's so far behind the time.
if we raise the councils by 2.5%, that would be a cost of living adjustment, which I think would keep things in line. What has it been in the past?
Well, it has been, the elected officials got 5%. Last year, 7.5%, the year before.
You follow.
We-
usually you follow what
It,
the city
it usually does, there was a year here.
Well. I look at that as the way we run for this position. We're not forced to take it.
No, we're not.
And,
We're not.
and I'm not here for the pay.
It's been a while since they've been different.
So let's,
I would. Do you have a motion or is that a suggestion?
that's my suggestion.
Okay,
Okay,
I would,
so he asked if it was a motion, but if you guys ain't gonna say nothing, I was gonna make it a motion. So if you guys want to discuss it, you
I think
discuss
we
it.
should do 2.5
think
at
we'll-
least for the cost of living.
I'll make a motion, 4% for the mayor and the clerk treasurer, 2.5% for the members of the common council and utility board.
We have a first, we have a second,
I'll second that.
we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
All right,
Any opposed?
I oppose.
One opposed? Any abstentions? Thank
Okay. Where?
Nick,
Well, I guess
No.
we need to do I mean, is that the ordinance? We need
Oh, that's right.
you just
It-
introduced
it's just,
figures to put into the ordinance. Now you have to
Figure-
introduce, and now you have to introduce the
And then,
ordinance.
in 2024-22 now,
Okay.
with those numbers in.
this is adoption of 2025.
Be
Elected
introduced-
officials salary ordinance.
Introduction.
Introduce.
Ordinance number 2024-22. We have motion to introduce
Motion introduced.
and a second.
I'll second. Sorry.
Okay, we have first, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
aye,
It has to be held over. It takes unanimous consent of at least
well,
2/3.
that's fine.
Second.
Sorry.
We'll hold over to the
That's
next
fine.
meeting.
But that's okay. We're not gonna start.
You got time, right, John? You got time, right?
No, that's fine. I mean,
Okay.
So wait a minute now. So did we vote on the introduction? I'm sorry, I missed that.
we did vote.
It's been introduced.
But on the introduction,
Okay, so it's,
but we haven't done anything with suspend yet.
so you can introduce it with a vote of 3-1 if that's what you want to do. And I think that's what the vote was.
We just voted 3-1 to introduce it.
Okay, but so now we can't proceed with.
We cannot suspending rules because we need unanimous.
So
consent.
it has to be held over for next meeting.
And we'll do that.
Okay, anything else with
Redevelopment Commission?
Oh, yeah. Not done yet. This past week, the redevelopment commission adopted their spending plan and it was uploaded to Gateway. Part of the process is that I give it to the executive and to the fiscal body, so file it with you guys. You don't have to approve it or anything, but it's just, you have it.
They met, they decided, and this is it.
Yeah, that is the one TIF with the most money, is, of course, the one that really, yeah, up in northeast area.
Yeah.
It has to be on those for public safety or any improvements that touch that TIF area. But there has to be a spending plan in place. Doesn't mean you're spending it necessarily. State's requiring now, so people don't accumulate TIF funds and with no plan on spending. This one expires in March of 29, so.
Most of the budget is geared to paying either lease rental bonds or economic development bonds, but there's some dollars in there for some projects, potential projects. But most of it, by far, most of it is for
Yeah,
bond obligations.
all but one TIF is for bond obligations, so
We have some.
we don't have a choice on those. We have to pay those obligations.
We're gonna pay them back.
No approval needed there. It's just
No, that's
informational.
just, I'm
Bring it in.
filing it with you.
Right. And just at the end, yeah, we understand our responsibility as a superintendent's mayor of controlling those salaries and giving people what they deserve, but not be mindful of budgets. So thank you for the opportunity to be able to work within those ranges and be fair to our employees, competitive, because but it is our job to be mindful of that, so the budget. We have any other items, council items? We do have we do have citizens item here, James Carter. James, you're from sorry, took a little longer than normal tonight, so we had a lot on here. I think he had planned been here at our last meeting, would have been shorter, but he'll come up here, and actually in his county, it's an hour earlier than this. Wants to talk to us about support for a bill that's before our state house right now, that could limit, that will impact cat populations.
No. It will impact all animal situations, dog
Okay.
and cat, but I'll kind of give you a little bit of history, first of all. So my name's James or Jim Carter. I'm from Perry County. I've been, I'm on the animal control board of the county. And I've been involved for well over 20 years with the Humane Society also, president and vice president. But we've had, obviously, Perry County is a little bit different design than either Du Bois County or Spencer County. A huge amount of the majority, 2/3 of our population lives within 5 miles of Tell City, Hamilton, and Troy. So we have a large population in a small area, and that's caused problems, but the Animal Control Board has been trying to figure out how to solve those problems, and one of the problems we have is we have 3 little cities and the county, and each one has a different animal ordinance. So it gets very confusing whenever somebody calls and they're not quite sure what a policeman or a sheriff comes out exactly where they're at when it happens and what animal ordinance to follow. And the main reason that's caused problems is that going back to the state law, I'm like, you each got a packet, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
We got it.
way back in 2006, I'm going back in the past. The state of Indiana was trying to redesign the way it operated. And one of the things it was trying to do was to eliminate certain positions, and one of them was the trustee, county trustees. In order to do that, they had to actually change the way they operated by trying to figure out how the trustees collected dog tax in the state of Indiana. Most of the part of the trustees collected. Well, since they were trying to remove the trustees, they came up with this 6-9-39, which is the county option dog tax for 2006. And that was so that the county could still collect in lieu of the way it used to. So anyway, so the state legislature in 2005, starting in 2006, to implement it, passed 6-9-39. The problem with that is that the Purdue University, as you know, collects 20% of the income from any dog tax under the county and the law, 20%. So in order to satisfy Purdue University, certain counties, basically, I ain't gonna say they satisfy, but certain counties adopted the county option dog tax. And you should have a chart there that shows you that in actual reality, the state sent me the information of how many counties actually adopted that. And there's only, there show that there's 10. In reality, I called every one of those counties and there's only 7 of those. In fact, only 1 out of 70 citizens in the state of Indiana are actually using that state law. Now, the problem we've got, or I've got for Perry County is this. it also states in paragraph 9, and that's the important paragraph, that neither the county nor any municipality, which is cities or towns, can license if they don't pass that county option dog tax. And that kind of put handcuffs on a lot of cities that have problems, as opposed to maybe a county that have problems with their dogs. This is for dogs, okay? So that caused problems in our own county, so we were, our animal control board came up with a combined ordinance to approve by all the county, all the cities and the county. And both Troy and Tell City rejected that because of that county option dog tax. They both said that as long as that existed, they weren't agreeing to, because there was a licensing in there and they were not gonna agree with it. So this has caused confusion. So I've actually been working on this for a long time about why even have a county option dog tax if less than 10% of the state of Indiana is even using it. And then you put these handcuffs on these municipalities. Now, I don't know if you got a cat or dog problem, but Cannleton, which is one of our cities, has a major cat problem. And they are at the point where they're getting ready to do something, but they don't, number one, they don't have the revenue to be able to do it. Number two, they don't know exactly how to do it. So I came up with a plan over a year ago, and I actually gave them a plan a long time ago of how to take care of this problem. But the first thing you have to do is each city or each county has to have the ability on its own to decide whether it wants to license. Because the only way you're going to be able to do anything in a municipality is you got to have the revenue to be able to do it. And there is no revenue if you can't license. So, and there is no revenue through dog taxes, as you see, so few people are paying into that and to Purdue. So I said, I'm going to try to get rid of this state law. So I decided I got to start with my own legislature, which is Steve Bartels. And so I said, the only way I'm going to be able to get his ears is to go up to every county, to the county commissioners, to the county council, and to every city, to their councils, and say, please do me one favor. When I explain this to you, please call Steve Bartels and say that you agree that we should modify paragraph 9. So to remove paragraph 9 so that a city has the option, if it wants to, I'm not saying for you to have the license, but the option of being able to license dogs, because you don't have, by state law, you don't have that right now. I'll give you an example, and I'm not going to say the city, but there is a city in the state of Indiana. There's actually more than 10, but this one is a big one. It's collected more than $1 million for dogs, for licensing, and their county never passed that. So they've been illegally, for a good while, collecting over $1 million for the services for their dogs and cats and their animals, which they needed really bad. But now they don't even realize that this tax existed, and now they're kind of like behind the 8 ball. I could not go to the media, the big media, and say, hey, we got a problem here. Because all at once the alarm go off, those people that have been paying this for years, and all at once saying, wait a minute, they've been illegally collecting this. So what do? So I said, I'm just gonna go see Bartels and try to convince him to at least modify that on paragraph 9, or get rid of the whole law. But how you can't deal with Purdue, because Purdue would not allow that. In fact, I talked to you about this earlier. Purdue is very strong in the state, and they're getting a small amount of revenue, and they're not going to want to change that because they're going to say, wait a minute, what's next? So I realized that Purdue is a force to be reckoned with, and it's important for them to remove that whole tax. But if we remove paragraph 9, Purdue still gets its percentage, is 20% from each county that decides to have this county option dog tax. I'm not asking for you to do it. I'm not asking the license. I just want.
So your request of us today is to advocate for removing paragraph 9 and contact Mr. Bartels.
Yes, please, because I can't, like I said, and I contacted it, and by the way, a week ago, I had another meeting with him personally. And he's on board with this, but I think he needs just a little bit more shoving to push it, because he has to have this, for him to put in anything to change, he has to have it in by November.
Okay. Well, thank you. You know, as a group, obviously, we can't make any motions or anything this evening, but I think each of us can consider that as individuals as well as those in the room and I guess that's all we can ask.
Yeah, and I'm doing this as an individual, not that
I understand. Yeah, I understand here.
I just think it's ridiculous to have a state law that less than 10% of the counties participate in. It's also ridiculous to hang and lock up both the cities with the counties so that don't have the option. Again, I'm not asking you to license. I just want to give you the ability of license for getting rid of that. That in case later on you ever have a problem with dogs and you say, where are we gonna get the revenue? Then on a later date, you can say, hey, let's come up with that license.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
There's a lot of.
Being said here, any other business, we recognize that we got Malia here from Mayor's Youth Council. Thank you. She was at our Parks Board meeting last night. She and I have had, seems like running into each other all the time, and I thank you for your, do you have any questions of the board or anything to report? September 31st at 7:40 a.m. In Mr. Schneider's room. So,
Is that election day? Or is that over?
no,
Okay,
no,
no.
it's a week prior to that.
So we.
Yeah,
Halloween, isn't it?
That's coming.
No, I'm sorry.
which I think is your birthday.
Election board for your board.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Very well. I knew it was coming up for you guys too.
That's your results day.
I think we have any motion to adjourn.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
Also.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is ended, I guess, at 6:47. And I'll ask Ron to please stop the recording here, so.
That'd be great.
Thank you.